Have you ever experienced something so terrifying that no one would believe you? Something that made you question everything you thought was real? My name is Serena, and for the longest time, I kept this story to myself, afraid people would call me crazy. But now, at 17, I finally feel ready to share it. This happened when I was 15, and even now, the memory chills me to my core.
It was a quiet morning. My parents were at work, and as an only child, I was used to being home alone. I had my Rottweiler mix, Stella, for company. She was a big dog, strong and protective, which always made me feel safe. I was sitting at the kitchen table, working on a school project due the next day. The kitchen had a large window that overlooked the dense forest behind our house. Just a few steps away was a hallway leading to my parents' bedroom and mine, which was at the very end. As I focused on my work, I suddenly heard scratching at the front door. I glanced under the table to check on Stella, but she was still lying down. Confused, I got up and looked outside, but there was nothing there. Shrugging it off, I figured it might have been an animal, a fast-moving bear perhaps. I sat back down and finished my project in about 20 minutes. Feeling thirsty, I walked over to the fridge to grab a drink. Then, the scratching noise came again. This time, Stella reacted. She bolted from under the table, rushing toward the door, growling fiercely. My heart pounded. I peered outside again. Still nothing. Now, I felt uneasy. I decided to take Stella to my bedroom and lock the door. Sitting on my bed, I distracted myself by scrolling through TikTok. That's when I heard it. My mother's voice. But my mom wasn't supposed to be home yet. She worked late and wouldn't return until 10 p.m. It was still afternoon. Stella's growl grew louder, more aggressive. My blood ran cold as I heard slow, deliberate footsteps on the creaking wooden floor approaching my room. I held my breath, too scared to move. The footsteps didn't stop at my door. They went into my parents' room instead. I heard the door open and close. I was shaking, silently crying. I grabbed my phone and called my mom. Of course, she didn't believe me. "If anything else happens in the next 2 hours, call me again," she said. Minutes felt like hours. I sat frozen, clinging to Stella, who still let out soft growls. An hour passed. Nothing happened, but I couldn't take it anymore. I called my mom again, pleading with her to come home. I didn't care if I sounded like a scared little kid. I just needed her there. Finally, she agreed. The moment I heard her car outside, I ran to her with Stella at my heels. My mom was irritated, thinking I had imagined everything. She walked through the house, checking each room to prove that nothing was wrong. Then, she opened the closet door in my parents' bedroom. Her face went pale. Without a word, she grabbed my arm and shouted for us to run. Stella barked wildly. We sprinted to our neighbor's house, banging on the door. Thankfully, they were home and let us in. We called my dad and the police, trying to catch our breath. Our neighbor looked deeply unsettled when we explained what had happened. Then, she shared a story that made my skin crawl. "When I first moved here, I was warned about something in the woods," she said. "I didn't take it seriously until the night I heard scratching at my door. Just like you, Serena, I thought it was nothing. But then I heard my sister's voice. Except my sister had died 5 months earlier." My stomach twisted as she continued. I knew better than to respond. I stayed quiet, but whatever it was entered the spare bedroom. I was terrified. I called my husband, begging him to come home. When he arrived, he grabbed a knife and checked the room. At first, it looked empty, until he saw glowing yellow eyes under the bed. We ran as fast as we could. I can't remember exactly how we got rid of it, but I know this. Whatever it is, it's dangerous. Be careful. A shiver ran down my spine. Just then, the police and my dad arrived. The officers listened to our story but didn't seem convinced. Still, they saw the fear in our faces and decided to check the house. 5 minutes passed, then 10, then 15. When the officers returned, they looked just as shaken as we were. They had seen something. It looked like someone we knew, one of them admitted, but it wasn't them. They described a figure, tall at least 7 feet with hollow, piercing eyes. Its voice was eerily familiar, yet distorted, like a mix of their friend's voice and something inhuman. We left the house that night. For months, we stayed elsewhere, too afraid to return. Eventually, we moved back in, and though the creature stopped appearing, the fear never left us. Even now, half a year later, I can't shake the feeling that it's still out there, waiting. I just hope it never comes back, because if it does, I don't think we'll be so lucky next time.